famous investor in India, passed away recently. You may have seen the news even in Thailand, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. And Rakesh was a billionaire several times over. He never managed money for others. He only really managed money for himself. And he actually started with nothing. He actually borrowed about $20,000 at about 18% interest from some individuals to get going. When he passed away recently, he had a few $1 billion to his name. And Rakesh was he was kind of a split brain in the sense that he did a lot of day trading and rapid fire in and out trading. But at the same time, he had some positions that he held for decades, never touched them. So, for example, he had made an investment maybe about 25 or 30 years ago into a company in India called Titan. They actually are a jewelry retailer. They used to be a watch retailer, but now jewelry manufacturer and retail. He had put about, like I said, about 3 decades ago, about 4% of his net worth into Titan, and he never really touched it after that. He also said in one of the interviews that he actually never visited a single manufacturing plant of Titan over that period. I think it represented about close to half of his net worth when he passed away. So, something that was a 4% investment became 50% or more of his portfolio, and the rest of his portfolio had also done well. So this was quite a significant return. There was another company, a pharmaceutical company, Lupin, which he'd also held for a very long time. And there was a third one that he very deeply regretted till the end that he sold. So he had made a few times his money on that. That was Crystal. It was a credit rating agency, the best credit rating agency in India. So the thing is that I think the holy grail of investing that I have figured out so far is to have partial ownership of businesses that can grow and compound for very long periods of time, where the business has qualities which allow it to increase intrinsic value over a period of time. And usually these companies have some attribute that allow us to maybe identify them. One of the attributes that they tend to have, they tend to be run by or founded by kind of fanatical leaders, maverick leaders who don't really fit the normal mold. They kind of appear somewhat unusual in their makeup. So, like for example, in the United States, we have an airline called Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines has done extremely well. I mean, it's been around for 50 years, and I don't think they've except perhaps during COVID, they never lost money any year. And they actually pioneered the low-cost carrier movement around the world. A lot of companies around the world, Ryanair and Asia Air and so on, they all copied Southwest model, which Herb Kelleher came up with. What Southwest was trying to do is India, who passed away recently, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, some of you may have heard of him. And Rakesh actually never managed money as a profession. He just managed his own capital. And he started with basically, I would say, less than a couple of $100. And he died pretty young. He was 62 when he passed away. So didn't have more than 4 decades of compounding. And in that 4 decades, with never collecting fees or outside capital or anything, he passed away. He had about 7 billion or so. And half of that 7 billion was one company, which is a publicly listed company in India called Titan Industries. And Rakesh had put about 4% of the total assets he had about maybe 27 or 28 years ago into Titan. And he just left it there. And he had a kind of a split brain in the sense that he was a hyperactive trader. Many times he was in and out of positions, in a few minutes, a few hours. But at the same time, there were a few companies that he just kept forever. And so if you think about someone like Rakesh, 96% of the portfolio could have gone to zero.
And if he just never touched Titan, he'd still have $3.5 billion. And so it really didn't matter what happened with the other 96%, as long as he didn't touch Titan. And I think with Berkshire, it's really similar. The reason why these businesses have worked out so well, they're businesses with great fundamentals and they have high returns on equity, is that Buffett has held them for a very long period of time.